Welcome, everyone. We're Alan. We're pleased to meet you today and to share our stories and talking about the prophecies today.
Nolly, welcome, friends. We are here in our fifth session in the series we're calling Mending the Sacred Hoop. We have created a place of neutrality in the first four sessions that we did in this series, and we'd like to encourage you to watch those first sessions and then join us in the sixth and seventh session coming up. Tonight, in this place of neutrality, we hope that you can perceive that energy that we've created through the practice of Madhyamaka Buddhism. And we did that to create a new place where something creative, unknown, completely new can come in to help us mend the sacred hoop. So our topic tonight is prophecy. And the neutral energy is about the mysteries in prophecy. The mysteries that call us to watch for the synchronicities, for the things that call us into prophecy. We always know very much about that. It's also about doing without knowing why. And we're going to share some of our experience of prophecy as we go tonight so that we can participate fully in creating the mending that is needed to return to the sacred and the numinous. The prophecy tells us of opportunities, and the details are not there in prophecy. We may not know the choices and what outcomes they will determine, but this is also a part of ceremony. So experience guides us what to do or what we need to stop doing. It brings together the known and the unknown. Our direct experience is more authentic, and it balances the self-proclaimed experts or controlling influences. So we belong to the prophecies. They don't belong to us. And we want to help you discover walk with them. So we are going to share some of our experiences and teachings that can help everyone participate in the prophecies because they are all about bringing us together. I'm going to share my experience first of Cherokee prophecy, of the four colors bringing their teachings back together. I'm going to try to be brief as possible about the prophecy because we have a lot to share tonight. We want to participate in this prophecy at every opportunity because it's about all of us bringing our original instructions, our gifts, and our teachings together again. And it begins in the West with the teachings of the water and the black race. And they carry the power through humility teachings. We saw this with Nelson Mandela and maybe with President Obama. Think about the opportunities that you recognize in this prophecy and how things are out of balance, how there are abuses, and how we can participate in bringing things back into balance. So we move from the West to the East, where race teachings are held by the Hopi people. And they are the plant medicine, and we see the abuses in the pharmaceutical industry. And my personal way of addressing these teachings that I carry ancestrally is to share the wild plant foraging and medicinal properties with everyone who's interested, to bring those back into balance and reclaim them from the pharmaceutical industry. So then we move to the south, where the teaching is of the wind, and that's the spiritual teachings held by the Tibetans. We can see that in the Dalai Lama and some other, way experience. The next direct is the north, and that direction is held by the white race, it is the teachings of the minerals, and that abuse is in the nuclear weapons and in the fossil fuel proliferation. So the way I address this is to share teachings of fire and right relationship with fire. And I was given an opportunity to do that when I was in Switzerland in 1994. I was cooking for a retreat there for a swami. The owner of the retreat came in and he didn't even say hello to me. He just looked at me. He said, "You are Salagi." And I just nodded because I'd never been recognized in Europe before. Said, "And you carry the salt." And I nodded again. He turned to his wife and said something in Swiss Germany and turned back to me and said, "My wife will come for you in the morning and take you to the caves where the white race teachings are held so that you can sing your ancestral songs." And again, I just nodded because I was too shocked to even speak. And she did come the next morning, and I went to this amazing cave. I have no idea where it was, but I sang the songs. And when I started singing, both the who took me there and the Swami got spooked by the energies, and they left. But there was a woman that she had brought along who stayed with me. And after I sang the 4 songs, she just fell down on her knees and cried. And all she could say, we couldn't have a conversation. We didn't speak English, and I didn't speak Swiss German, but she just said, "I see angels." And so I didn't expect any of this. I was shocked by all of this, and I didn't know anything about why the keeper of those teachings asked me to do that, how he recognized me, or anything. I just did what I was asked to do to facilitate the prophecies. And this is the information that we hope to share with you so that when you find yourself in similar opportunities or synchronistic happenings, you can recognize and just do needed. So, going back to our neutral place, remember how much we did not know when we were born. Okay? The wisdom we hold now was cloaked in curiosity and nurtured by love of a woman's heart, as was put in the outer world by men. So I'm going to ask my Salagi brother, S.D. Youngwolf, to this experience of some of our Cherokee traditions of actually using human abilities that lost or at least oppressed for many years, using them to protect the prophecies, protect the teachings, bring things into balance. And I encourage you to make the effort after you hear him speak of these things to become educated in ways. And one way to do that is a book that Vine Deloria Jr. wrote on his deathbed. He tried many ways of understanding the oppressors. He became a Jesuit priest, and then he became a Western lawyer. And on his death, he went back to our original ways in the book he was writing called Ghost to Live In. So this is the best resource that I can recommend for the way SD's going to share with us. He's going to start honoring the feminine with the Cherokee women seers, and then some of the origin of our prophecies, and also the great law of peace. So SD, if you would at this time.
All right. Wahige gohi, wahige gohi, wahige gohi, wahige gohi, watatila hati iye, watatila, watatila, watatila hati iye, wahige gohi, wahige gohi. wahi ke gohi, wahi ke gohi, watatila hati iyu, watatila, watatila, watatila hati iyu, wahi ke gohi, wahi ke gohi, wahi ke gohi, wahi ke gohi, watatila hati iyu, watatila, watatila, watatila hati iyu. Osio. I'm S.D. Youngwolf of the Taligi Nadagi, Texas Cherokee. And so I wanted to speak a bit about Native history because, all of us pretty much, I think, have grown up in a colonized country with a colonized education system that doesn't pay much attention to Native history. And if we want to find out anything about it, it's pretty much up to us. But there's a lot of wisdom uh, in Native history going way back to before any Europeans ever set foot upon this continent. There was someone that is referred to as the peacemaker. He had a name, but it is the practice of the Haudenosaunee, his people, the people of the Longhouse, to not say his name. And that's the reason being, he said, there, that there's a prophecy that there will come a time when they need him, and that at that time they can call on him. And so the practice is to not say his name. Don't call him back too soon. Call him when he is really needed. But the peacemaker saw his mission in life from a childhood as being someone who had come to the world with a mission, which was to bring peace among the people. At the time, many of the tribes of the Haudenosaunee were fighting with each other. And he went among them and he persuaded the chiefs to adopt this way, which he called the Great Law of Peace. And so that is over 1,000 years old, and that has been carried forth through the oral tradition to this day. And so the peacemaker gave these teachings to the people, and he had certain principles, a certain way, a form of government in which the women were given great power, because the power of women is that they are for life, and they have more are considered to have more wisdom than men, because their goal was the preservation of life, that life would be strong, life would be healthy and balanced, and that we could live that way. So he gave the people this teaching, and he persuaded them to put aside the weapons of war. And so symbolically, they dug a big hole and they put those weapons of war in there, and they planted the white pine tree in that hole. And he said, this will be the symbol of our unity. And anyone who seeks shelter beneath this tree, no matter who they are, may follow the roots, which is called the white roots of peace, to the base of this tree. And at the top of this tree, we will place the eagle. The eagle will keep watch that no harm comes to the people. And so the symbol was the eagle grasping in its talons the 5 arrows. At that time, it was 5 nations, representing each of the 5 nations. So most Americans don't know that the roots of American democracy lay in this, because Benjamin Franklin and others went and spent time among the Haudenosaunee and saw how they did things, and they learned this. And some of that went directly into the Constitution, which has been recognized by the Congress, this influence. But they didn't get it all right because they didn't give the women the power uh, which they had by the teachings of the peacemaker. And there are some other things too that it was only, when it was originally made, only the white men, property owners, could actually vote. So over time, there have been changes that have come, positive changes that have come about. But the teachings of the peacemaker are very important, and there's actually a constitution of the Haudenosaunee, which you can actually look up on the internet and download it. And I highly recommend doing that, to look at the white roots of peace, which were his teachings. So as this, there have been many wise people, seers, mystics, prophets throughout throughout the span of Native history. But unfortunately, many of these are not known or are very little known. But I find what's very interesting is the women who have graced this land with their presence and with their lives. There are three women I'd like to speak about, and the first one being Jigan Sase. That when the peacemaker came among the people to deliver his message of peace, he met this woman, Jigan Sase, and she was the first one to accept his message and say, "I will help you. I will help you spread this." And he named her the Mother of Nations. And there are many stories about Jigan Sase, which there's not enough time to go into here. But she was a great, wise and spiritual woman. And the second woman I'd like to mention is Nanyehe, known to the white people as Nancy Ward. She was Cherokee, and she was called the Beloved Woman. That was the title that was given to a very wise woman, and she had power over the chief. In some matters, she could say, "That's not right what you're doing," and she would be listened to and respected. And Nanyehe got that title because when she was 16 years old, she was married, and in a battle on the battlefield, her husband fell, and she picked up his gun and led her people to victory. And for that, she was given the title of Gigao, on her beloved woman. And she was actually a peacemaker, though. She became a great peacemaker, and she would meet in councils with the white people, and the white people were always amazed that a woman was allowed to speak by the Cherokee. But she gave beautiful speeches, and in one speech she said, "I know that women are, you might look at as nothing, but we are your mothers, and we should have peace between us, and your sons should be our sons. Our sons should be your sons. And we must live in peace together, and this peace must last forever." And so she was a very eloquent orator, besides everything else. And in her later years, she had a vision of the Trail of Tears, which was still in the future. She tried to preserve the Cherokee lands, but it was a losing proposition because of the power and the force of the white people. But she described this vision of, she said, there come a time, and it was 20, 30 years before it actually happened. There come a time I see a long line of our people, of old men and women and little babies going to the west to another land. So Nanyehi is remembered with great love, and I've been to her grave where she's buried in Polk County, Tennessee, and her grave is covered with offerings that are brought by people of all nations to honor her and leave on her grave. And the third one is Wilma Mankiller. Wilma Mankiller was a woman chief, and maybe the first woman chief that is known, and from 1985 to 1995. And she instituted a lot of changes in the Cherokee Nation, and one of which being the place of women, because of the influence of the colonizers on the Cherokee. Even within the tribe, there were some very negative patterns, and she opposed that, and she made great changes. So I actually worked in a school with her brother-in-law in Oklahoma in teaching. So Wilma Mankiller very much honored, and she said she referred to Cherokee culture as Iroquoian. You know, Cherokee is generally considered a different tribe from the Iroquois, but they have the same roots. And I've heard it said in Tahlequah that the Cherokee are the seventh nation of the Haudenosaunee. And she recognized that, and she referred to the Cherokee culture as Iroquoian. And the last thing I'd like to talk about is Tecumseh. And Tecumseh, everyone should know who Tecumseh is. He was a very great being, and he was a warrior, but he was also a wise man. He was a mystic and a seer and a teacher. And some of his quotes I won't go into right now, but I advise everyone, if you could look up some of the quotes of the eloquent speeches given by Tecumseh, it'd be worthwhile to do so. So Tecumseh was Shawnee, Algonquin people, and he fought against the seizure of native lands, and the general that he fought against was William Henry Harrison. And William Henry Harrison attacked Tecumseh's village of Tippecanoe while the warriors were gone and wiped it out. And that got him to the presidency of the United States. And his campaign slogan was Tippecanoe and Tyler too, because Tyler was his vice president. But when he was elected, a month after his inauguration, he died. And so they say there's a legend that of the curse of Tippecanoe, because Tecumseh's brother was Tenskwatawa, who was known as the prophet. He was called the prophet. And they said the truth is that on a 20-year cycle after William Henry Harrison's presidency, every president elected in a 20-year cycle would die in office. And that continued for 7 or 8 presidents. Every president, including Lincoln, including John F. Kennedy, elected in that 20-year cycle. It could also be said every year ending in 0, that they were elected and they would die in office. And the last one, the one who seems to actually have broken the curse, was Reagan. And I've read some speculation that Nancy Reagan, his wife, had heard that prophecy, and she worked with psychics and astrologers and everything, and trying to stop it. And maybe she did, because someone tried to assassinate Reagan, but he survived. And so, and then the next ones on that 20-year cycle was George W. Bush and Biden. So apparently the curse, however it happened, was broken. So these are some of the native prophecies, and there are many native prophecies. And the way I think about it is, why were these old leaders, these spiritual men, these wise men, they were so able to see into the future? And I think it's because they walked in truth, as say they walked in beauty. They may have defended their people. They may have gone to war, but they passed on in their words and in their actions great wisdom, which came from way, way far back in time, and they carried that forward. So to refer back to the peacemaker, one of his teachings as part of the great law of peace was that teaching of 7 generations. That says, the great law of peace says that whatever you do it with regard of 7 generations before you and 7 generations ahead of you. And if we could live in that way, in the teachings that have been passed down, we could truly, I think, mend the hoop and live in a good way, or as Wilma Mankiller put it, with good mind. So I'll say that much. Thank you, Widow.
Because I live in South America, in Brazil, come from Bolivia, from the Andes. And when we're talking about mending the hoop and the prophecies, the prophecy which will be spoken later more deeply, but the prophecy of the condor and the eagle have come very strong to all of us. And what is it? And from this point of view here in the Andean region, it is about 20 years ago, it started to come out more, which represents that energy of bringing together from the elders that came from our ancestors in the north and in the south, of coming together and harmonizing the feminine and the masculine. And what I observe experientially more than anything is that it's really not about being in the south, the feminine, and the north, and masculine. That's not how the Andean cosmovision looks at it more. It's more about coming together, connecting. The condor represents this messenger from the above that is doing all it can to bring us together, the people from these different ancestries that we have from people from different groups. So what I want to share is a little bit the word Pachacuti, which is something from the Andean tradition, which brings very clearly this, it means a revolution of evolution, actually. It's something the word in itself is very clear that it's more on that answering the calling of the time of return to harmony. That's what Pachacuti is, the time of return to harmony. And what I observe here in this southern part of the world is how women are coming out more and more than before. And there's, that's something very beautiful to see that this is happening actually. And in my community here, I have experienced with the community of the woman, when I reached out to them and wanted to do things together, they would say, ah, nobody talks like that to us. Do you want us to help you, to work for you? And I says, no, we're here to come together and work together. But the colonization was so strong that they had it ingrained that, you know, this white woman here wants to, and I says, no, we're going to work together. And from that time on, we have been, and it's amazing how I can see here how the women are working directly connected with the nature, which is what the eagle and the condor talk about, is our connection with nature in itself, Mother Earth and Pachamama, for her to give us all these teachings. And how do we connect to nature? And I see that these women are really coming forward, and we're working with, this little coconuts and becoming sustainable and taking care of one another. And at this week in particular, a group of women came together to bring forth help to an indigenous community in Sao Paulo, in a place, but there is this indigenous community there with the cold, the climate change is so strong that it's cold like it's never been before. So we're coming together, this woman indigenous group is pulling out, we're gathering, uh, clothes and things to cover oneself, um, and but it came from the woman energy, the feminine energy, to help the community. So I just wanted to share quickly how experientially I have been observing within myself and within the community how this is emerging. So the ego, which represents more the rational, the more, objective, and the southern is more, fluid like that, we're coming together. And that is emerging. It's not like that, but it's there, it's coming, and I can feel it, I can experience it. And so that's what I wanted to share about this part of the world. And the Pachacuti, which is that revolution, is on its way, it's here. So then Lenny, I think we'll talk more about it later. But that is really mending the hoop, is how we can come together and harmonize the masculine, the feminine, and emerge from that through connection with Mother Nature, with Pachamama. So, Marcia, thank you for letting me drop in. And now you take the baton, okay? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patricia, for that. It's so relevant today and so relevant in our lives. One of the things that I see in my life, that there are times when, because I used to keep a very tight agenda, and I thought I had, my agenda was so important, and I would think that, oh, I have to be at this place at a certain time. And knowing and meeting people that were phenomenal people doing amazing creative things, and wondering all the time, why am I meeting these people? What is it about these people that is impacting my life and my journey? And thinking about the reasons why I think I'm going someplace or doing something. And have my agenda, and I have all my items, and I'm there to produce an event, and most of the time successfully. And then there's always something, no matter where I'm moved to go, that is an unforeseen reason that I'm going there, the true intent or the purpose of why I showed up at that place at that time. And you sometimes think about wow, it's amazing that it's me here. And then you think about, it's perfect. There's, that's exactly where I should have been at that time. And guided by the trusting, guided by my own intuition or not, trusting my own intuition or not as the guiding principle, trusting my own abilities. You know, do I even understand the language that people are speaking? And, you know, trying to analyze and rationalize, how does it fit into the plan and the agenda, when in fact, there's so much happening outside of my agenda. And confirming that I'm there at the right time. I'm there and I'm the right person to be there. That it's completely alive in that moment, to be in that moment of time. And this recently had an opportunity in looking at all the prophecies and the stories of the prophecies and how we bring them forward to live in them. And what I'm seeing behind that, especially in the recent experience that I had with our sacred fire, that we have, how do I say, that we're here exactly at the right time. The prophecies are really about the dream behind the prophecy. It's like when you have a newborn child and you look at that child, and in that one moment you see the possibilities of an entire universe coming alive right now in your hands. And in that possibility, that dream, I literally, in this, and I have a video to play for you, I felt in this ceremony the prophecy as the dream of our ancestors, and a prophecy as the dream of our children and grandchildren. So Pamela, if you play the video, and then I'll make a comment before I. It's a recent event that we had in Rogersville, Tennessee, at the bringing together of the nations. And it originally was planned by strong men, visionary men, who all the time that we were working and building the event, I was looking and saying, where are the grandmothers? Where are the grandmothers? And the Chief Phil Lane was intended originally to come and be to conduct the ceremony. and he couldn't make it. And another incredibly strong man that was also going to be in the ceremony couldn't make it. And as it turned out, grandmother Ajna came in Chief Elaine's stead and started the fire from a eternal flame that has been from the central sun that has been burning continuously, that lit the torch for this fire. The ashes from the seventh fire were put in there, and in the moment of that this is really happening, I literally felt my ancestors, your ancestors, dreaming this moment of our coming together, of that 0 point astrologically that Laura Eisenhower spoke to, that moment is in the whole anchoring of that eternal flame, the eternal energy, and having it be officiated, and the women, there was totally women at the cardinal points of the ceremony, supported on the outside by incredible men who built the platform for that to emerge. And it is, we are the living dream of those prophecies. We are they're dreaming us as we're dreaming it out. And it's such an incredible gift to see all the prophecies, to hear all the stories, and to really be touched so clearly, so deeply by the prophecies in action. So that's my gift.
Let's move on to our sun dancer, Lenny. Can you share with us on the global coming together and the second part of your sharing the last time we were here on opening the portals?
I'd love to. Okay, I'll open with neutrality. Neutrality is really one with everything. And at Magi, where I live here, I'm not First Nation, but I have walked with First Nations, Sundance, and just the way just walking this earth, all the things that are being said tonight is our personal experiences of walking in the hoop, with the hoop healed within ourselves. There are times when it's not healed, but when it is healed, then those, like Gail walking and being asked to sing her songs, Patricia working with the women, Marsha working with the ceremonies there. Like she said, it was all, she just knew it was the right thing to do. I just had to be there. I was called. When we relate to the prophecies, that was the same to those people. They were given this prophecy because they were open to it. They could walk in that neutral place. You know, if we let go of our prior positions, something entirely new can emerge. And we can only do that if we just open to all things. To me, my journey and my sharing here and our stories being first on the personal level to myself, walking in the hoop with myself. That's where I was with the birds and the pond and how they led me to the petroglyphs and taught me just listening to nature. The next story I shared was actually the seventh fire prophecy. The people here in the east walked west because they had a prophecy. They had to walk till they found food growing on water. And like all things with the prophecies, it's all part of the hoop. It's not separate. It wasn't one prophecy. How many different prophecies have we heard tonight? All saying similar things. There will be a time when we have the choice to come together, where that eighth fire can be lit or not. And it's up to us to walk that way. Well, that's the community level. The whole nation decided, yes, we need to do this. When you saw that video of the the eighth fire. That was a community level. The prophecies are, to me, the next level. That's the level where we walk directly with the universe, you might say, with, well, it's not even the universe. Our saying is Emsek Nugama, which means we are all related. We are not separated from all things. When we walk with all the energy of creation walking through us, then miracles happen, then prophecies happen, then visions happen. Then we are in the right place at the right time for something for us to take care of, do that little piece of ourselves that we're meant to do to make the greater vision come about. That's the source of all the prophecies. We walk with the hoop complete. And that's why we're doing this series, to show that we need to walk with that hoop as a wholeness in ourselves, the personal, the community, and then the national, and also the greater spiritual that connects to all things. I'm thinking of that. I'll share a little bit how that works with me, how it has worked. The last video I also shared about being in Venezuela and meeting with the eagle and the condor and the medicine person of the South, sharing my ceremony of the North with him and coming together, and how they've kept the medicine out of the South all over his land, and how we shared the ceremony of a piercing ceremony like the sun dances. And then I shared with my friend Gomo, who also saw a portal open in the vision of a portal opening. And his elders weren't listening and seeing, and he was doubting, and he was losing his medicine, his ability to walk in that spirit path, because he was doubting himself. He was losing that connection of the hoop. He was out of the hoop, you might say. So when I went to visit him, we went and we went to Chaco Canyon, and we did that ceremony and it opened the portal for him. And me being there was just a confirmation for him of his vision. That was all my role was, to go there and to show him. But he also showed me something. He showed me that, you know, there are portals and they need to be opened. And my story really begins about a year and a half before I met Gomo. I have a friend here, and she walks with the group often, and she had a vision. She had a vision of this mountaintop in DC that something has to be done there. That's all she knows. She had this vision, and she knows the vision was true. There's always what I call confirmations when I have a vision. It's if something comes into our head, something will confirm it later on in some way to show it. And this walk with Gomo was a confirmation of her vision. Something needs to be done. And to her, the confirmation was her staff was, she woke up and her staff had moved across the room in front of the mirror where she practiced her belly dance. And my confirmation is the morning after she had that evening, just before she shared this to me, I met this woman for the first time that came in a belly dancing costume. There was a confirmation. And also part of the vision was an eagle feather was lost and have to be given. Well, this woman, when I shared to her that, she said, well, I have an eagle feather that was given to me from somebody from the South that she shared with me and gifted to me. So there was another confirmation. So I continued on my journey, and the first thing I did when the South sit on the land, connect to nature. That brought me to Gomo. That brought me to Chaco Canyon. Coming back up here to the west to that mountain. Before I went on this journey, I actually had worked in that area of the mountains, helping the Sindhi people rebuild for the first time in generations their traditional lodging house, their traditional ceremony house. I was living close, and there's some local sun dancers that I had met, but I was just drawn there. And so I helped them for months to rebuild, to carry the logs and to rebuild that. So it was part of that land where my friend had this vision of. And she lives on the East Coast, which is, thousands and thousands of miles away. She didn't even know I was there. She thought I was home here in the East. She didn't know that I was out there. So I had actually just driven by that mountain that day. And it's the first time I had ever driven by. So these are all the confirmations that tell us. So on my way back west from the south where Gomer is, I felt I needed to go to the medicine wheel, Bighorn medicine wheel. But all the rangers said, you can't get up there to 6 feet, 8 feet of snow. There's no way you can get up to the mountains there. It's just not possible. And I said, oh, okay, say so. But my heart didn't say that. So off I went, and here was this moose across I had to stop my car almost, this moose crossed in front of me, and up the hill he went towards the medicine wheel. Well, if you can get up there, I can get up there. That's a sign. So off I went, trekked up there, went across. And the reason I'm sharing this is like I found the medicine wheel, and the medicine wheel itself had very little snow, even though I went through 6 feet of snow to get there. And the snowbanks were way above my head. But thank goodness there was an observatory so I could walk along the road part way. But the location of the medicine wheel is this long, narrow thing. It comes narrow, then it widens out to where the wheel was. Well, when I got back up north, I'd never been to this place. He just said, oh, it's up on the mountain someplace. So I went up to this mountain and I camped out, and the heavens opened up and the Thunderbird was there. And Thunderbird is actually one of my names. And so I knew that was another sign. But where do I do this? And what am I supposed to do up here? I don't know. So, but the land is the same as the medicine wheel. It had this narrow piece and then opened up. So I knew I have to go up to the other part. So off I went, and sure enough, there on the wall was a face of the chief. And from that spot, I could look down in the 4 directions, see 4 different valleys. And I knew what I needed to do there. I don't know how, just like Gail didn't know why she was there. Like Marcia didn't know. Just know, because we're walking in the hoop thing. The universe lets us know. The creator lets us know. Whatever you want to, we call it the great mystery, lets us know. So I did a portal opening ceremony. And the way the lights changed, the way the clouds changed, the way the heavens opened up, where the darkness from one area opened up and changed to light, I knew it was the right thing to do. And there's these little things that make a difference. So when we follow people, we never follow people. We never follow leaders. We follow a heart. A heart will tell us, this is the person I need to be with now. They are doing something that needs my help. It doesn't, like Michael will talk later about his regenerative stuff, how he does so much working hands-on with people. Who does he work with? Who do they work with? Well, coming together with the hoop is when we know when to work with each other. And we don't do that from the intellect. We do that from our personal experience of walking and knowing, I just got to go help that person. I've got to go help build that lodge. I've got to go and help plant that corn, whatever it is. If we walk with a hoop hole in us, we'll know where we should be, and that 8th fire will be lit. Those prophecies will happen. We will make the right choices. That is the only way I know how to do it, to walk with our heart open in the hoop field within ourselves. Thank you.
Michael, can we ask you to share your experiences of the birth of the first white buffalo calf and the house of Micah, and gives the example of the Maya seeing the Spanish flying across the water?
Absolutely, thank you. It's a pretty blistering warm day here in Los Angeles. I'm at the the arboretum, immersed in nature, surrounded by the concrete jungle. So a paradox and kind of another reflection of the entropic dualistic universe that we live in. So again, thank you, Grandmother Gail. And as always, it's great to be here. And I know I really appreciate the perspective we're taking about direct experience, because, you know, we live in a time where, you know, prophecy is relevant, but also there's a lot of interpretation, misinterpretation, projection. And again, I think some aspect of prophecy is a very personal experience. So I'm glad that we're focused on direct experience here today. So I just wanted to acknowledge, you know, this whole series in general about mending the sacred hoop from direct experience really takes me back to my time with grandfather Wallace Black Elk, and the work that he was doing with the sweat and the purification work, and just talking about a time when all the races of all the directions, men and women, would come together in a place of balance and working together. Unfortunately, because he shared some of these teachings, I know he got a lot of negative feedback from different communities, but I just wanted to kind of acknowledge him for the work he did. And I know he touched the lives of a lot of people. And I know, of course, going back even generations, a lot of people are familiar with Black Elk, going back all the way to some of the other teachings and prophecies. So I just wanted to acknowledge him and this series of Mending the Sacred Hoop. And again, we're here sharing our experiences today. We're not trying to be prophecy professionals or claiming that, you know, we have the ultimate truth or perspective. And also what I really appreciate with our weekly gatherings of our Grandmother Council and Wisdom Council is just the level of authentic connection and our quiet time together. And even though we do this monthly podcast, that, you know, we're not really geared up to about, you know, how can we use the prophecies globally or per se, or how can we monetize it or facilitate that. And I'm not judging anyone who works in that area, but again, I really feel deeply resonant and at home with the community that's very organically building. So mending the sacred hoop, I would say a lot of that goes back for me back to 1987, which everyone knew as the harmonic convergence, sometimes called the moronic conversion. but nonetheless, you know, it was a time where Jose Arguelles came out and talked a lot about the Mayan factor, the Mayan calendar. People really started to understand the concept of you know, time and space, and time as art. And of course, a big part of that was building up to the concept that 2012 was the ending of the Mayan calendar. And a lot of people thought that was the end of the world. And again, even around that, there's various interpretations. But a big part of the prophecy was the return of Kukulkan or Quetzalcoatl. So I'm not trying to speak as a professional on the Mayan and Aztec prophecy and teachings, but it talked about the return of the feathered serpent. And in my understanding and direct experience, being in the Yucatan for 20 years, on and off, working with people there, was that we're entering a time where the realization of the interconnection between spiritual and material world, that there's no separation. So the serpent represents the earthly, the physical, three-dimensional world, but the feathers represent the spiritual dimension. And the feathered serpent was the unification of spirituality and the physical world. And again, it's something that many people know and understand that are mystics and spiritual people, but it's like there's going to be a mass awakening, which interestingly corresponds to quantum consciousness of how we create our reality. So needless to say, 20 years of being there culminated in 2012, where we did a big gathering in Chichen Itza to at least acknowledge that time, not the end of the world, but the end of, I would say, the illusion of separation between spirit spiritual and physical things, which of course is foundational to the whole world of indigenous teachings, even though many people haven't gotten the message from more a Eurocentric perspective, not including Druids and other cultures from that area of the world. But people are starting to realize that, you know, there's a symbiotic relationship and deep interconnection. So that was a direct experience. The other piece I'd like to mention is, before I go forward, I wanted to acknowledge a couple other huge influences on my life and my work. Chief Jake Swamp from the Tree of Peace Society and Oren Lyons, who are both part of the Six Nation people that were, like Esty was talking about, related to the Great Law of Peace, part of the greater Iroquois Confederacy, and how much was contributed by them. So I know they have a lot of their own teachings, but I kind of wanted just to touch on a few things, because strangely enough, I look at, I've come to realize that my life is a self-fulfilling prophecy, which is true of all of us. Like how we incarnate, we have preceptions, perceptions, and we go through our evolutionary journey. But really, the idea that prophecies are road signs and in spiritual instructions, they're not closed, they're not finite, they're not definitive. They're really like road signs along our personal and planetary evolution to hopefully keep us on the right path. The other one that comes to mind, as you mentioned, Grandmother Gail, is the prophecy of the white buffalo calf woman and the return of the white buffalo. So in that, again, my understanding is that that was symbolic of when the white buffalo woman came to help bring peace among many of the Plains tribes because of what was happening there. And she came as the embodiment of the importance of peace and also the divine feminine, bringing the sacred pipe as a way for people to sit and counsel and have communication. And they said at some point that her spirit would return after, which is kind of interesting because that weaves together with my experiences with the Hopi, which really culminated in 1994 with the World Unity Gathering just north of Flagstaff, which we had some of the community and delegates from the Lakota Nation there. Actually, I know Chief Phil Lane was there, but also how it interfaced, because prophecies can sometimes weave together and collaborate, especially if they have a lot of the same messaging. So we started organizing the event in 1989. I was on my way to Telluride, Colorado. It was 1987. I was heading to play with the Mickey Hart and Olatunji and members of the Grateful Dead in Telluride. I stopped at the Hopi Reservation. I met Grandfather David and Thomas Banyaka, which completely changed my life. And at that point, I moved from Santa Cruz, California on Friday the 13th, 1989, which is actually the day I moved was the day before the Loma Prieta earthquake. Because we know part of this purification and the prophecy is as Ruben Sofsky said to me the other day, the earth's going to do what the earth's going to do, and it's up for people to align with nature and to help decide what level of purification has to happen for each person spiritually, but also globally. Anyways, to kind of fast forward, after years of being involved with the Hopi and going to the United Nations with Thomas Banyaka for the prophetic knock on the House of Micah, it was called Cry of the Earth, where all these different cultures delivered their prophecies. It became very obvious that, okay, I have a front row seat to this. How does that, again, getting back to my personal experience, how is that relevant to me? So as an event producer, we started working about 1990. And then eventually in 1994, we midwifed the World's Unity Gathering just north of Flagstaff. Strangely enough, because we know Hopi prophecy is about the purification. It's about entering into the fifth world. Many of people have seen kind of the Kokopelli image that during that event, August 22nd to 29th, 1994, was actually the birth of miracle, which is now the first of many white buffaloes that have been born. And again, symbolizing the return of the divine feminine. And as Patricia was saying, the rising of the sacred feminine and of the women, and not just gender specific, but I know a lot of men who are starting to have more of the nature of intuition, more maternal, more compassionate, more intuitive, as opposed to the toxic masculine, patriarchal, divide, conquer, exploit, extract, patriarchal consciousness. So that was a very profound moment for me of unplanned that happened. So again, that kind of propelled me into the future for the work that I did. Unfortunately, right after that event, I went under a lot of character assassination from the federal government, because there was a lot of talk about sovereignty and a sovereign nation, and people from Big Mountain were coming and people from different tribes. So needless to say, it was 30 some odd years ago, a precursor a lot of the sovereignty, indigenous land back movement that we see becoming more and more prevalent. Then I want to move quickly to the time I spent in Mexico with the people there, which culminated for me in 2012 with the big gathering at Chichen Itza, which was the return of Kukulkan and Quetzalcoatl. There are a few other pieces. I've kind of feel blessed to kind of brush wings with the eagle condor prophecy. I have been to South America and Brazil, and had time with different people there, like the Shabante and the Kayopo people. And of course, I live here on Turtle Island, so I've always tried to do reconciliation and acknowledgement for native cultures here. And of course, I spent time in Mexico. So for me, the understanding of the eagle and condor, of the kind of the northern spiritual, intellectual, systemic type of thinking structure. And again, I'm generalizing. I'm not saying this is exactly what it is. Mixed with the intuitive. I have to say, as I'm talking, you can kind of see a huge peacock. A huge peacock just jumped. I got to share this. A huge peacock has just jumped over the wall here, and is kind of. Oh, okay. I'm gonna move away. Okay, thank you. So, and then of course I was in Palenque last year, where there was a gathering there, and I see that there's a lot of different communities who are kind of embracing and embodying different aspects of this eagle condor prophecy. So I also know that the hummingbird, maybe the peacock now, the hummingbird has been added to those prophecies. I might have to run. He's kind of he flew down and he's walking over here, and beautiful creature. So I'll get to the point here. So I've been very honored just to kind of be quiet and be present and be around these teachings, these road signs, these kind of litmus tests of where humanity is at this time. I also want to say that in Buddhism, I'm kind of a part-time Buddhist practitioner, and they have the teachings of Maitreya Buddha, which is also about the return of this energy of unity, of compassion, of service, humanity coming to another paradigm outside of the old, broken, toxic, patriarchal system that many of us have been on. And in their tradition, along with the Hopi, they talk actually about the huge changes where people will find their own sovereign spiritual path, kind of transcending or transmutating what we know as religion per se. I mean, there's a huge difference between religion and spirituality. So I want to just kind of acknowledge the Maitreya Buddha, which also relates to Kalki Buddha in Hinduism. I'm not going to talk about my personal experiences. I want to pretty much finish right now. But there's a lot of prophecies out there. And of course, a lot of people have heard other things from like Nostradamus and Baba Vanga. I mean, right now, there's a lot of sensationalism about Bible prophecy and what's happening in the Middle East and all these things. So I would just say I remain an apocalyptimist, even though apocalypse means to reveal what's hidden. I remain optimistic in the human spirit to purify and navigate these times. The last thing I do want to say from direct experiences. Actually, a lot of people don't know that the Rudolf Steiner, the founder of the Waldorf schools, he also had a whole body of teachings about these times. I'm not saying any of these things I completely endorse, but my daughters actually were both Waldorf school children. Their mother taught Montessori. So even in education, we see kind of this regeneration and revamping and architecting some of these old paradigms into something new. So it's really exciting to be alive on the planet at this time. Many of us maybe have chosen to be here at this time and to help, regenerate humanity and the planet, keeping what works, turning into compost what doesn't work, and creating something new. And it's just really fascinating. I will say I have in the past gone to various counterculture gatherings called rainbow gatherings, and there's a lot of talk about these rainbow warriors. I will say I did deep research on that. There's no particular culture that created that prophecy. It's something that's kind of become part of the ethos of these types of spiritual groups and discussions. There is some versions of that in Cree. I'm not an official on that, but I just wanted to kind of touch a few nodes and acknowledge that. And again, thank you for the time that we have here today. And I will continue to deeply listen for the remainder of our gathering. And I might even get to feed a peacock in a minute. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael. Take good care of that beautiful peacock inspiration you have there with you. So you've heard a lot tonight, and we're so happy to have this opportunity to share with everyone. We encourage becoming the most human in the ways of the fifth world prophecy that says, first were the stones, they are the eldest, and they began everything on earth, and they brought the water, and then the stones and water brought the plants. Together, the three of them brought the animals, and the animals are teaching us to be our most human. So a lot of what you've heard tonight is being our most human. So I really want to encourage you to dive deep into some of these things that stick with you and interest you, and put some effort into being the most human we can all be, so that we can make that transition from the fourth world that we're in to the world that we're actually on the verge of, and turn to the animals. Let them teach us. There's so much there that we don't know. So if we have that neutrality and that openness, the animals will prepare us for the fifth world, which is our most human opportunity. And if we don't do that, it will be the end of this wave of humans, where we all reach back far to the very beginning and share ancestry, just like so many waves of humans before us. So please participate in becoming your most human, so that we can all go into the fifth world together. And part of that is to watch all of this series. We're on the fifth session now. Pamela's going to show you how to find those recordings on YouTube, so that you can see the whole process that we've gone through, and that we continue to go through in 2 more sessions. So Pamela, if you would please share those images. This is how you get to the first 5. This will be the 5th, and we'll be up there soon, that we've shared. So you just go to YouTube, find Ritual Transformation, that's our channel, and then you'll see the playlist, like the second arrow shows you. Click on that playlist, and there you'll see Mending the Hoop series. Okay, so this is how you watch the whole series up until the point, and join us for the next 2 sessions, so that you can be part of Mending the Sacred Hoop. It's beautiful ways of becoming hoop and coming together and sharing this work and this walk with the prophecies and with each other. So thank you so much. He's working as much as we can and doing tech support for us. And if SD would like to out, we would love that tonight if that's possible.
Did you say something about the song?
Yeah, sing us out with the song, please.
Okay. Hey, nay, nay, Yahweh, nay, yo. Hey, nay, nay, Yahweh, nay, yo. Hey, nay, nay, Yahweh, nay, yo. Hey, nay, nay, yo. Hey, nay, yo. Yana, hey, yana. Yana, hey, yo. Yana, hey, yana, hey, yo. Hey, yo. Hey, nay, nay, Yahweh, nay, yo. Hey, nay, nay, Yahweh, nay, yo. Hey, nay, nay, Yahweh, nay, yo. Hey, nay, nay, yo. Hey, nay, yo. Yana, hey, yana. Yana, hey, yo. Yana, hey, yana, hey, yo. Hey, yo. Hey, nay, nay, Yahweh, nay, yo. Hey, nay, nay, Yahweh, nay, yo. Hey, nay, nay, Yahweh, nay, yo. Hey, nay, nay, yo. Hey, nay, yo. Yana, hey, yana. Yana, hey, yo. Yana, hey, yana, hey, yo. Hey, yo.
Thank you so much, SD. I love singing that song with you.
Mm.
We'll say Donna Dolga Ani until again. To everyone, join us next time and contribute your insight on mending. Watch the series so that you'll know where we've been and where we're going. And join us. Thank you all so much.
Okay, Wado.
What else?